it gets me out of my head. That's what I really like about it. It's a really directed experience. You know, there's just nothing like it. It's really at one with the world and natural process. And just understanding it, you know, and getting to see how to nurture things and help them grow. And it's just, I've spent my life kind of doing media, which is kind of indirect experience, really. And now I hunger for direct experience that's not harmful, that's creative and healthy. And I feel at one with the universe when I do it, when I garden. I do. It's good for me. It's bad for my back, but it's good for my head. Salut! Ouais, toi! You?
Let's do friend to me.
Okay.
Don't do it too fast.
Yeah, I mean, we are basically very good friends, so that really helps. I think if we weren't very good friends, it would be very difficult. I think that's been very important to both of us. We first moved to Paris, so we lived in the city, and I could work there. I was working in the film industry in Paris, and the kids were going to school there, and Carrie could get some work there teaching English. And then this sort of just happened through friendship and through the fact that we really wanted a country experience. Well, it's very remote, it's very quiet, there's no action, it's calm, and yet there's the potential for a community.
Wherever I roam, wherever you may be.
Well, right away, we came with this kind of romantic idea of becoming peasants, and the reality was a little bit harsher than we realized, and also I think there was a little bit of how do you say, méfiance, wariness as to what are you doing here? You know, why you're like Martians. Why are you coming here to invade our land? But little by little, we won the locals over because we worked hard at making this place nice, and they just wanted to see that we cared about the land, that we respected. Then we did decide to paint our house yellow. That kind of was revolutionary around here, but it's not a shocking yellow.
There was a rhythm to the life here in France that we profoundly appreciate. That there's an appreciation for sitting down at the table with a group of people. You sit, you share a meal, you talk, and there's that sense of community around food. It's a European sense. We do that in the States, but it's a lot more rushed, and people always have somewhere to go, or they come late. And here in this place, people just really stop and talk and enjoy themselves.
This is actually last year's chard that made it through the winter, and now it's going to seed, but there's still some really nice leaves on here.
Well, I think that both of Carrie and I were always interested in organic gardening, basically, in gardening in a natural way. And we really wanted to grow the food that we were eating.
So when we're growing our own, we know what we're doing with it. When we're buying from somebody else, that's the first thing I ask them. It's not so much, is it organic? But what I really like to ask them is, how do they treat their soil?
And we already harvested the basil and made pesto. We made about 3 quarts of pesto out of our basil, and now they're growing back. Because we do it, we know what goes into it, because you can put a lot of junk in your soil, you know, and the plants will come out peppy and looking good, but they've been fed a bunch of junk, so that's not good. You know, the key ingredient is trusting the source. You can't rely on labels. You can't rely on organic or bio, because it doesn't mean really what you imagine.
What you would like it to mean.
So you have to do a lot of research, and you got to work at it. But once you find the source, then you can relax. Then it's good. But don't you swing down, sweet chariot, stop. Let me ride. Swing down, chariot, stop. Let me ride.
When I was growing up, I was really very fortunate to have half of the side of my family, which is this big, sprawling Italian family in Brooklyn, and the other half, which is Northern Eastern European Jewish. Everybody loved food, and they loved good food. And so I really learned from a very young age that it was valuable to go for farm food that was produced in a really natural way.
When we came here, there was an awful lot to do. It was a lot of hard work, and it was much more than we actually counted on. So for 20 years, we've been working to make it really great. I think my interest was sort of recapturing the old village atmosphere that my father grew up in Belarus, or my mother experienced in Odessa, some hearkening back to the traditions, and I just wanted to experience that, I think. And we just really had a good time making little areas that are beautiful for different reasons, and I think we kind of always hoped that our kids would come join us here, and our grandkids, and so far, in the beginning they did, and they helped us quite a bit, but then as they developed their own lives and their own loves and their own families, it got much harder for them to come over. And so one day my youngest son looked at me and said, this is great, but it's your dream, not ours. And I said, yeah, you're right. So they're living their dream and we're living ours, and now we're trying to figure out how to make them coincide. I'm always looking for balance, and I like it when I can get out of my head and get into the garden. Healthy. Okay.